laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It ain't nothing but a laid back vibe.
Hey everybody, welcome into another special edition of Sketchy and Funny from Tommy Bell Art. I'm Tommy Bell. Check this out, gang. I've got a couple of really big announcements before we get into my next drawing for this show. The first one, you know what? The hell with the announcements. First thing I got to do is introduce my co-host and the voice of the LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast, Beauty, Strength, and Dominance. Yeah, it's the social media magnet, Mr. Michael Larkin. Hello, Michael.
I'm good, Tommy. First and foremost, man, thank you so much. And we have a great guest in store for everybody tonight. We have a great drawing for you, Mr. Artiste, so I'm excited for today's forum.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. That's going to be part of my major announcements. The first thing that I want to announce to both my viewers out there, you guys, I know you're watching. The first thing I want to say is this is it. That's right. This is the final episode for season 1, Sketchy and Funny. I'm doing everybody a solid by giving you a Tommy Bell dozen, and that's ending the season 1 at 11 episodes. But that's how we're doing it, because I can't think of a bigger, better way to top this show than with the special guest that we have on today. And Michael, I got to tell you, I'm a little nervous, and here's why. Here's what I always get a little bit jittery before each show, so the cat's out of the bag. But speaking of cats, we've got a special guest tonight who I've never worked with before, and we just connected just recently because of my fascination with a video that I saw that she's in, and I'll get into that a lot more. Michael Larkin, please help me welcome our special guest tonight, Skylar Calico.
Calico.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's I'm going to start explaining exactly how let's face it, I'm not even in my 40s anymore. I'm in my 50s, and social media is a real challenge for me no matter how I do it. And I'm embarrassed sometimes to say, like I'm going to right now, I just found out about you a couple of months ago. Before that, our paths had never crossed. My attention didn't, it just wasn't there. So it's kind of embarrassing. But this video put out by Baefight, my friends at Baefight, did this incredible video. They do all kinds of crazy cool content. You got to check them out, Baefights.com. There's my shout out to Baefights, because this is also a spotlight on their work, because it was this video with you and Tyler Lynn. It was just absolutely amazing. And Michael, I got to tell you, I've only really watched this particular video about 4,000 or 5,000 times. So I haven't really dove into it the way I need to, but it's as soon as I saw this one time, I knew what a drawing this would be somehow. Like, you know how my brain works, and I just immediately started picturing it in Tommy Bell Artland. And I tried to divorce myself from it, saying, I don't really know these people and I've got a lot to do, but it wouldn't leave. And so it became, this is how I'm kicking off 2024, is with this drawing called Castaways, which is just an amazing idea. And this clip that Baefights put out with Skylar, Calico, and Tyler Lynn, man, it's just magic.
That's the beauty of it, man. I think what a lot of people can tell from watching Miss Skylar over here and the great fights that we see from Baefight, with the mixture of wrestling, cat fighting, and just overall sensuality mixed with some physicality. I think it really does great is to give a spotlight and a spotlight on this woman right here. So, Tommy, I cannot wait to see you get to the drawing table and do the damn thing.
We're going to hop right over here, Michael, and I'm going to, before I waste too much time yabbering away, like I can yabber while I draw, so let's do this. So, Michael, Skylar, to everybody, this is Castaways, done off of this amazing photo supplied to me by Baefights from this outstanding clip of theirs that I started talking about. this is the Castaways drawing over here on this side. And just to make an art show out of it, I'm going to show you real quick. I got a boatload of pencils, right? This is basically the colors that I use for flesh tones normally. And because they both kind of got blonde hair with darker under stuff here, I've got a whole bunch of, just to make this an art show, we've got dark brown, and then we got a bunch of other bullshit all the way away. So there you go. There it is. And I may even be clever enough to tell you when I'm switching from one color to the next. But as we kind of kick off the conversation, I'm just going to kind of hop in here and start doing a few things. So I'm always going to start with a dark color because, again, dark colors on paper, especially, like I'm doing this totally old school Skylar. So, it's colored pencils and it's regular paper. If I spill something on it, I'm screwed, that kind of thing. But when you're working with color, the darker the color, the harder it is to get rid of it if you don't do it right. So I start by putting in just a little bit here and there. And I'm just kind of working with the darkest color first, because then, like when I'm blending, if I'm blending flesh tones or your shirt or whatever, it for whatever reason, it makes a much easier blend when I'm working from dark to light. So that's why I do that.
I didn't know that.
It's just, it's I don't even know if it's something that's taught. It's just something that I figured out by screwing it up so many times. Eventually you're like, hey, shit, okay, I
used to do a lot of sculpture, but I never really got into 2D art. I used to do a lot of metal sculpture. But
no kidding.
yeah, I was a welder.
Nice.
Now I fight people on camera.
That's why this is so cool to have you on as a special guest, Skylar, because now I'm going to find out all kinds of crazy cool stuff about you, and so Michael Teller, this thing is on the LFC VIP section of their website.
Yeah, on the Lingerie Fighting Championships website for the VIP section, where we get to see a lot of great Tommy Bell's artwork. And I think what's great about it too, as well, and I'll add on to Skylar's amazing imagery that we get to see within her photos here, folks. I think you, like you mentioned, the metal side of things, doing the welder side of things, the physicality. Now you're fighting in front of the camera. I think when you have that nice mix and blend of fetish modeling meets fighting, what have you, we talk about sensuality and overall physicality. I think everything that goes into it, and as I see the images of Skylar here, you have a lot of great, like, I'm gonna say it's like sass, it's like hard rock. It's also something that you would see like out of an Ink magazine, if you will, from the tattoos that are expressed. So there's a lot that really goes into taking amazing photos. And Skylar, you do take amazing photos, and it really showcases through in your work. So I think a lot of people are going to see just a lot of greatness going for you into the continued future.
Thank you so much. I mean, I've been modeling for 5 years. I welded for a little while and things like that. But I really do take pride in my photos, and obviously, I'm super excited. I'm going to be covered in tattoos at some point. It's just a matter of like I shoot so often on the fetish modeling side, and a lot of these things are super physical that I have to take like a week to a couple of weeks off between big tattoos. And so it's like I'll be like, I'm not shooting for 2 weeks, and everybody's like, ah, and I'm like, what I get? I have body that needs to get done. I just got my Medusa worked on my stomach. I got another thigh to do to match my other one and things like that. But yeah, on for the physicality side, I started dancing, pole dancing in 2016. And I really fell in love with it. I competitively danced. Now I guess I can officially call myself a feature entertainer. I have a feature booking, but I was become a feature entertainer for a long time and things like that. And that takes like a lot of upper body. And then I actually worked with, I don't know if you guys are like WWE fans or anything. Yeah. So do you remember the Nasty Boys from the 80s?
Oh my goodness, Brian Knobs and Jerry Sags, yes.
And Ron Galletti originally,
Yes.
Nasty Ryan.
Okay.
He's had the band Nasty Savage forever. I was the Unchained Angel for Nasty Savage.
Oh my goodness. Okay, fair enough. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, Michael.
I did stage shows and all that, and then I got into local indie wrestling, and I was a valet. I was looking into, joining the WWE and, going to wrestling school and all of that. And then I basically got told because of my history with the adult industry, they weren't going to take me. And I was like, I'll go do it in bikinis and go do it naked. And so that's where a lot of like my background on the wrestling and fighting side comes from. Obviously, I did MMA for quite a while. I'm looking to get back into MMA. I'm looking Krav Maga possibly because I really just want to be able to break bones.
Well, Skylar, can I ask? Because I just at this point now I have to. Thought about doing anything for the LFC?
I totally would.
Really?
I have not really been reached out to yet, and
well, you're talking to two guys who might be able to, make a few connections. Because I would love to see you at Lingerie Fighting Championships.
I think she do.
I have sat there and judged. I've judged an event. Michael has ring announced a few events, and I could say you'd be an amazing fit in Lingerie Fighting Championships.
I would totally be down. I mean, those are live events, right? They're like actual.
Yeah. The ones that Tommy and I were at the FSW Arena. For those who are not familiar with FSW, Future Stars of Wrestling is one of the premier independent wrestling promotions in Las Vegas. And this is where the WWE comes in. We're currently Karrion Kross and guys like Eli Drake, LA Knight went through that school. Chris Bay over there in Impact Wrestling has been through that school. So they've done a lot of great events in Las Vegas. Its home headquarters are mainly Las Vegas. But yeah, it's and obviously LFC's going to Florida at the end of February. But it's live. It's fun. It's entertainment. It's pageantry. It's glitz. But it's also at the same time, it's just fun. I think that's the best thing that you mentioned. Like we talk about the entertainment business, and you so eloquently mentioned the indies over here. When you're in indie wrestling, man, it's just being a valet and just being around the local promotions because you see a lot of the stomping grounds, the proving grounds for where you go on to WWE. So there's so much wrestling out there that a lot of people look at it from the WWE landscape and other different wrestling promotions, etc. But there's something about an indie feel, the underground, if you will, so to speak. It's like the underground of wrestling, but we don't talk about it with Fight Club, but we do talk about independent wrestling. So there's the vice versa on
that. Definitely. Again, Michael, I could see her being a great fit for the LFC. I could see her doing athletes on fire. I could see that. I could see the women on fire thing. I could see Skylar. I could see I could see you doing some. Not that I'm trying to talk you into any of that. That's not the point of this show. But all of a sudden, you just started saying, "Hey, I'm looking into doing this, and I've done this and that," and I'm going, "Hey, how about this?"
Right.
I mean, because I got to thank my friends at Lingerie Fighting Championships for the past 3 years of being so insanely supportive and good to me, and been a huge chunk of my portfolio work, Michael. I mean, just lots of I don't even know how many drawings we're at for the LFC at this point in time, but boy, could you see Skylar in there, dude?
Oh, dude, I think it would be amazing to see a woman like Skylar and so many women. As the show apropos titles with my message of beauty, strength, and dominance for the LFC. I mean, you have to look at it from a stance too as well. When it comes to women all around, it has the F word, so to speak, the foundation, if you will. And Skylar, I include you in those sentiments. When you look at a woman like a Skylar Calico over here, folks, we talk about foundation, we talk about internal and external beauty, and what really makes women the work of art that they are. So we get to see not only the beauty aspect and the physicality and the overall just evoking emotions, that gravitational pull. It's a character. You're amped up, and I can definitely see within your work and the physicality that you bring, Skylar Calico, whether it be Baefights or what have you. You're always amped up, man, and I can dig that from the character side of things and you just being you with the volume turned up, because that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Every time I get on camera, whether I'm shooting, wrestling, fighting, something that they're like, oh, we're just gonna like tickle you or anything else. I love being on camera. I love being the center of attention, to put it lightly. I've always loved being characters and being this, like, the more you give me, as long as it's not down to the finite details, like if you're like, do this at this second, I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. This is all improv. The more you say, okay, this is how the character is constructed and everything else, I can come at you with a full character. I was really excited. So the picture that you're drawing right now, I was really, really excited for this one because we were in the pool and I realized that I could throw Tyler Lynn around. and that, there was less of a risk of like her like hitting her head and like not waking up or like seriously getting injured. And so
Right.
in the middle of it, I had to like pull her up a couple of times. I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Because I'm literally just throwing her, dunking her in the water, everything else. If I remember her exact words, like we had got together once previously, and she after that she looked at me and she goes, "Oh shit, you can really fight." And I was like, "Yes, I can, honey. I have not lost one yet." I
I love
am
it.
I am small. I am 5'3", about a buck 25. But it's really about in the core of fighting or wrestling or anything else. It's looking at all of the things around you that are available to use at your disposal.
Well, I'm
Right?
about two
What
inches.
is
I'm about 2 inches taller than you, and that's about the only difference.
Well, no, to her point that she made, that's great about it. I mean, with everything at your disposal and your assets, the subtleties, intricacies, and nuances that goes into about the psychology of the character, if you will, it's really just about being off the cuff, but at the same time keeping it safe and spectacular, but also putting on a doggone good show. So I think for what she's mentioning as well as finding out, like, hey, Tyler knows that she can fight and what have you, and dumping her into the water and what have you. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think from the performance aspect too as well, damn it, man, it's something for everybody to really go into from the fetish side of things and just fighting in general. I think everybody has their own niche, their own preference, what have you. I think that's what makes individuality so wonderful in a way because there's something for everybody. And I think the work that you put into it, not only do you take pride into it, but there's a lot of gravitational pull and evoking emotions that come out through all of us as people, all of us as artists applying life in our own crafts, if you will. So I got to say that the clip that Tommy's drawing and just everything so far that Skylar's done, folks, you got to check out some badassery mixed with a side of just, if you will. You got that oomph factor, if you will.
Well,
you?
absolutely does. It really does. And not to cut you off there, Skylar, but
No, you're fine.
I mean, literally, that's my enthusiasm over what they did. And then again, this clip, folks, if you got to check it out if you haven't seen it already. And shame on you for not saying it. You need to check it out. But it just had such an impact on just my psyche in general that I was just like, I need to draw this. And I mean, I see all kinds of stuff, Michael. I've seen stuff up close. I've seen stuff in person. I've seen all kinds of different videos and things. And there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, ooh, wow. I mean, my brain just works that way. It's kind of fucked up. That's my wife. but it's kind of fucked up. But there's so many things where I'm compelled to draw them and spend the time. But this one really stuck with me. And I think I guarantee half of it was Tyler Lynn and half of it was Skylar Calico because the personality came through right from the beginning of the video where she's standing in this room and she's talking about, like, I'm not here to take a thumping and get kicked out of here. Like there's this whole attitude that goes on and you can just tell like that actually you wouldn't think so, but that kind of art, that kind of theater, that kind of stuff, especially in this industry, really adds. And so I knew immediately that I wanted to recognize her performance, her character, the way her and Tyler Lynn both pulled off an amazing video, like their hard work. I wanted to immortalize that in my little portfolio and just kind of give that Tommy Bell nod of like, not only did I see you, but out fucking standing.
Honestly, a lot of my emotions in that like speech of we were talking about the speech in the first room of okay, this is bullshit, she knocked me out and everything else. A lot of that was real because I met Baefight at TechCon probably, oh God, a couple weeks prior to shooting this, maybe a month. I don't remember exact timeline because I'm bad with dates. But and I had come to him and I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I can wrestle. I can fight. I can do this. Like I really want to work with you. I'm a Tampa Bay local. Yeah, let's work together. And so I was coming into that first shoot And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna dominate. And then, the first video, it was okay, now I'm getting knocked out. And this was kind of the retribution for that first video that we did. Um, Skylar, go nurse your wounds. And I was like, man. And so part of me that really was real of okay, I really want to prove myself. I want to prove that I can kick. I don't want to just be, I think that everybody sees me as like a smaller competitor and they're like, she's gonna get her butt handed to her. And then, I really was like, no, I want to like prove, I want to like get big dog. I want to like, I have that fire in me. And so a lot of that first like, come here. And then when we said go, I literally like big speed walked out and threw her in the pool. And I'm not sure that she was ready. And I should have communicated with her. I'm like, I'm getting thrown in the pool. And I don't really just like shoved her in the pool.
Exactly. I saw that. I was like, wow, there's not going to be any words at all, is there?
It was a genuine reaction, honestly. Like her reaction was so genuine of that like surprise, like what the fuck. My reaction of like, I'm gonna shove you in the pool, and then like it was so that was one of those shoots that was so organic that pretty much the only kind of like any breaks or anything we took was just okay, I've been dunked under the water for like 3 minutes straight or whatever, and I need to breathe. I need to catch my breath because we're working in
Right.
water. And so not only are you flailing and fighting, but now you're holding your breath and flailing and fighting. And so we'd both be huffing and puffing on the side going, all right, you ready to get back in this? And it was not choreographed at all. It was very, very organic.
And I think honestly, Skylar, probably that's why I can't get enough of it, which is so. I mean, I'm just telling you, but because of that, it's got a magnetism, at least with me, where I was like, okay, now I want to take that a step further and create my own little Tommy Bell thing, where all of a sudden they're castaways on this island. And of course, it's a stare down. It's part of my stare down series. I do several drawings where I capture the stare down thing, and there's always a silhouette of a little guy back here. So this one is building off of that, but because that one was so fluid, I mean, there's something about it that's really, really enjoyable to watch if you're me, especially. I really, for me personally, I loved, it's going to sound weird, but I loved the wardrobe. I love these kind of shirts. I love the whole look of it and the energy of it. And that's why I just, like I told Michael, I said, you know what? This wasn't originally going to be a drawing this early on in the year, but I got to get this thing out of my system. And I got to thank these people, or at least do my little Tommy Bell part to let them know, hey, look, here's somebody who saw your stuff, saw your hard work, recognizes it, and wants other people, hopefully through my drawing show and wherever else on social media, whatever, to check you out, see what all you guys are doing, and hopefully get as wrapped into it as I did. I'm not sure everybody's going to do a drawing, but I mean, come on, like, this was cool.
I will say, Tyler Lynn, she is a phenomenal, not only co-star, but just, wrestler to work with, where, she and I have that really good synergy and that energy of like, it's not, I've worked with other people, not just like Baefights, but just in general, right? I've worked with other people that you'll go in for the tackle and you're like, oh, you're supposed to fall down. And you have to stop and everything else. And one of my favorite things about working with Tyler Lynn in particular is she's adaptive, so I'll go for a move that we didn't talk about or whatever else, or it wasn't brought up, or she's like, you can do that. And she's just like, okay, so we're going over here and I'm going to flip you over now. And this is what we're going to do here and blah, blah. And there's no, like, we don't have to verbalize it. We don't have to plan, nothing else. She just knows in that moment.
Well, I hope, I'm really got my fingers crossed that I see some more cat fighting content with the two of you in it, because I can't seem to get enough of that combination. and I'm sure I've got more to say about that, but that's where my hopes and
Reached
dreams are
out
at.
to me. She reached out to me about 2 weeks ago, about collaborating.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure if there's a demand for it, both of us were kind of like, okay, so what do we do? What do we shoot? We both shoot a wide variety of things. I shoot everything from, photos and fashion photos to straight hardcore. She
Mhm.
doesn't go the hardcore route and things like that, but so we were kind of like, what do we do? What can we market for both of us? But if there is a demand for, if people start ordering videos and stuff like that, we are very open to more of this content. Like, we'd absolutely love to. She's a phenomenal human to work with,
Well,
I'll
I
say.
will be chatting with you after the show a little bit more about that. Folks, you know what I'm talking about.
I gotta say, just to add on to her point there, when you talk about the synergy and the chemistry, I mean, you look at how, and equating to wrestling, where a lot of them, like you call it in the ring, or just you call it just in general, because you know what one's thinking, just because, like we mentioned, synergy and chemistry. But that's what makes a great bout. That's what makes great storytelling, psychology, and what I also do appreciate too as well. Like you talk about like the Nasty Boys and the Indies as well. Like you look at how far wrestling has really come from the '80s era, the golden age with the Hogans and the Pipers, and the '90s, the NWO was all the rage, and then on the other side of the coin, you had WWF with Shawn Michaels and the Monday Night War. Then they'll lead on to the John Cena's and the Brock Lesnar's and the Batistas, and especially to where we are now in 2023. I think the overall adaptation and the evolution of wrestling is great, and I get to see women like yourself doing the damn thing of so many different avenues at facets of life, what have you, in regards to wrestling. I think it's great to see not only just that more talents coming into that, but I got to tell you first and foremost, man, being the valet, like you mentioned with the Indies, you think of valets like the Miss Elizabeths, if you will, the sensational Sherry Martels. That's a hell of a history right there that you can add to your package as a character as a valet.
Yeah, I mean, working as a valet, it's all character. It's all for anybody who doesn't know what a valet does. So you basically you don't take a lot of hits.
Yep.
Mostly because you're not trained to take the hits. You When you're a wrestler, you should really only work with other trained wrestlers, because you're doing these feats that, like, if you don't fall a certain way, that can be a career ending injury and things like that. Injuries do happen in the sport and things like that, but being a valet was a great opportunity for me to take a couple light hits, learn a couple falls, things like that, but mostly just build this character. My character is in my own, when I don't have a character that they give to me, is very much based off of like Rhea Ripley.
This
Is
brutality, yes, the Judgment Days are. Oh
Yes,
yeah.
I don't know if you see from the mohawk and the look and everything else. I mean, I've had a mohawk since before I knew it was Rhea Ripley, and I before she was mohawk. But it kind of just happened at the same time, and I'm like, you know what? I will never be as massive as she is, but I absolutely adore her. I love the badass, like, I'm here to fuck shit up. I'm the wrecking ball, like, aggression and dominance that she has, versus you see a lot of other female wrestlers. They're like, oh, I'm so pretty and dainty and blah blah blah. Like, yeah, I'm a girl and I can kick ass. But I really do love a good heel.
No, I'm right there with you. Rhea Ripley. Now, we'll talk about Rhea Ripley here. For those that don't know, Mommy on the WWE television, folks, Mommy, if you will, one of the best characters going today. And really, ever since she started, like when she started with the blonde hair, and she's in the Mae Young Classic, and she's doing all this to see her growth to where she is now. I mean, her as a heel, just being this badass, she really found her confidence along the way, but also at the same time, that metal vibe, that music, and everything that goes into her, that's her. That's authenticity right there. But also at the same time, man, there's something about her. Even though if she's a heel, whether she's a baby face, what have you, you're drawn to her. And I think that's the best type of characters and the best type of wrestlers. Like you mentioned, a Rhea Ripley, like a Beth Phoenix, like a China, if you will. I mean, yes, you
Yeah,
had your Kelly Kellys and you had your Eve Torreses and whatnot. The eye candy, they look good, but they try, they do the damn thing. But also at the same time, it's like when Trish came in and Trish Stratus grew to leaps and bounds. But then here's Alita over here doing a doggone Hurricane Run off the top rope. And it's like, what in the world? Where have you been all my life, woman? And then here comes this fiery redhead lead out the gate. So there's something for everybody. And there's so much different variety in wrestling. But Rhea Ripley has hitting on all cylinders. And she is right up here with the pedestal right now with women's wrestling.
absolutely. She's just a phenomenal entertainer, a phenomenal wrestler, and there's something beautiful about watching her like take all that eye candy and just bend them into a pretzel,
Yep.
you know. And like, kind of part of me wishes that I was that eye candy in that moment, but you know, it's fine. Um, like, just saying, Maria, if you ever see this, I am so down.
It's
Well,
all about that personality, Michael. Like we say, those people, like, they're larger than life.
yes, man. That's what I'm saying. That's what you should be checking out, Mommy, man. Mommy Rhea Ripley with Dom Dom and the rest of the Judgment Day, which I'm gonna say right now, people talking wrestling, where you look at the bloodline with Roman Reigns and what he's got going over there. I gotta say, man, the Judgment Day is just right up there with that top near, that top notch, if you will. There's so many large in life, like Tommy mentioned, personalities, and much like Skylar over here so eloquently put it, man. It's the goth vibes. It's that overall, you know what? I'm gonna paint my face, give it a little black and a little purple with the lipstick, with everything that goes about her. It's the ambiance, if you will, that aura. And there's a lot of people that have that ambiance and aura to it. The double A's, if you will. I know I'm not talking about the attitude adjustment like John Cena. I'm talking about the ambiance and aura, but there's a lot to that really goes into the art and the craft. And I think that's what we get to see, not with only in wrestling, but you over here, T Bell, drawing away, doing the damn thing with your artistry, baby.
Well, I'm giving it a shot again. Like I said, I think now finally I've gotten over my initial nerves for this show. But given what we're doing with the hair here, I've jumped around to a bunch of different colors because I'm kind of into some highlights. And as Skylar can attest, there's a lot of color going on in the hair, in her character in this video and in this drawing, because I wanted the drawing to be.
That is actually a washed out pink that I did about 2 weeks prior. I'm constantly changing my hair color, so it's a little more on the blonde side, but yeah, it was pink.
Well, what I'm doing is taking a little bit of artistic license, and I'm going to add some pink in there because you can't get past it. But I'm also just kind of smushing together in some form or fashion some of these other colors. So it's actually probably going to look a little darker than this, and probably not as pink as what was there in reality. But in Artland, that's okay, because the sky back here, I'm going to do like this really cool looking sunset thing to it. And that's going to make...
my hair is almost impossible to get one color from at any point, because there's always at least, 5, 6, 7 colors in it.
Good.
So, like, the artistic license is totally valid and warranted, because depending on the picture and the angle and the lighting, you're like, that's this color. Oh wait, no, it's that color. Oh wait. I know right now my hair looks black. It's actually purple, like, as of right this moment. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, that puts me even more at ease. You just keep adding color and I will too.
Yeah, it's constantly changing, constantly. Like, I know I should, like, for branding purposes, be like, everybody keeps telling me, they're like, stop dyeing your hair, keep your hair one color. And I'm like, I can't. I tried. I was like, black. And then the black kept washing out and going to purple. I haven't made it purple.
Hey,
it's just black hair dye washing out and turning it purple.
Maybe that's what it's supposed to be then. You got to go with it.
Yeah, when you got the black and the purple, which is always a nice mix. I mean, it's one of the things where you look at many different hair colors. That's another aesthetic and accessory that really goes into it. I think we notice as well with Skylar, like we talk about your imagery beforehand. I mean, I think it doesn't matter what hair color you're at. I think it adds to just the ambiance of the photo and the overall imagery. But I gotta say, first and foremost, and we gotta go back to the tattoos here for a second, because the body is the temple, and man, we're just painting our canvases, if you will, from the body front. You talk about the Medusa. I wanted to ask you about the tattoos, because some of the very important pieces that I have on my arm, one's dedicated to my love of God, and one's dedicated to my grandfather who passed when I was 9. So meaningfulness, meaning that goes into tattoos, and I can definitely see it on your body, but what we get to see the assortment of your tats right now, Skylar. So I got to ask you, what are some of the favorite tattoos that you have? Because you mentioned the addicting feeling of just wanting more, so to speak, because that's the beautiful thing about tattoo work and just tattoos in general. But what's some of the favorite tattoos that you have that you really like or most proud of?
I mean, like, for me, tattoos are just kind of like taking what's on the inside and portraying it in some way on the outside. I want to be, I want to call myself a human coloring book and be covered. So my Medusa obviously, is very, very important to me. It's actually a broken face Medusa, which kind of puts a whole nother spin on, the Medusa tattoo and kind of like reclaiming, myself, my identity, and who I am. I actually have do not pet across my collarbone, which is one of my favorites. And unfortunately, when I get my test piece, that will be covered up but added somewhere else because it is just such a prolific thing for me. And that has a little bit of a backstory in I was dating this guy, not to get into a sad story, but I was a drug addict and I was dating this guy and I was making all the wrong life choices and everything else. And I was at Exotica in 2021, I think it was, or 2022. Yeah, in Miami. And he cheated on me while I was there. And I had a tattoo that said pick for him because, again, I was, on substances and absolutely stupid. Um, and my best friend, that was kind of my decision of like, okay, it's time to clean up my life. It's time to hunker down and focus and get my stuff together and everything else. And my best friend took me for a tattoo appointment, and she's like, well, "What are you gonna get? We're both getting tattoos." I'm like, "I'm gonna get do not." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm gonna get do not on the other side of my pet." And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm like a service, Skylar, like do not pet the animal. She's working." And it's partially a warning and partially, but it's that
I get that.
meaning for me of like I had this person that was, really not great for me in my life, and it was like reclaiming that of like, oh, you want me to be this submissive little pet? All right, no, I'm she bites. She bites. Um, Another tattoo, I have this whole I love me arm on my right forearm. I have a bunch of song lyrics that mean things to me, but I have my best friend's last text before he passed away. It
Oh,
says, I love you, Sky Pilot, which was my nickname from him. And very few people actually get to call me Sky Pilot. That is something very important. Like, if you are very important to me, then, like, yeah, I have no problem with you calling me Sky Pilot. Anybody else, I'm like, no.
right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, no, I got his last text, and that's a really important one to me.
That's cool though.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
that's really awesome.
And I mean, with the meaning, like you mentioned, I mean, you got yourself out of that bad place, and I mean, you're here and you're with us now, and you're here just doing a lot of amazing things. I think it's wonderful to see you just, showcase your essence and stuff like that, because I think we all learn, we all grow. You know what I'm saying? It's not a sob story at all. I think a lot of people can relate to it. I'm just happy to see you doing your thing, and just happy to see you just continue to grind. So I mean, the grind never stops, and we as people don't stop. So I'm glad to see you just doing your thing.
absolutely. Thank you so much. And that is one thing that I try and like, push in a lot of my social media presence and everything else is like, yes, there's the sales aspect of like, please subscribe, please, buy my clips and whatever else. But there's also the, I want people to know that like recovery is possible. I want people to know that they're not alone. And yes, this like pretty girl who's taking all these pretty pictures on the internet and blah, 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 she went through struggles as well. I won't get into all the struggles that I went through, but that is one that I am exceptionally, it is my proudest moment. It is the thing that I am proudest of any of my accomplishments in the world is like, no, I did that and I did that myself and I'm here and I'm having a great time now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
Thank you.
it's the community. Like, to put it what she said, like there's that sales aspect of like subscribing to social medias, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're all inspiring through our words and our actions. And I mean, if you have that presence of just showcasing that within your social medias and you as your overall being, mind, body, and soul, I think a lot of that goes into it. And especially, there's a lot of people out there that need just to have that kind word. I mean, it's the little subtleties that we mentioned, a certain hello or what have you. If you could brighten someone's day and evoke that emotions and put smiles on faces, it may sound cheesy, it may sound cliche, but it's honest and it's genuine. And I think you can touch a lot of people's hearts and touch a lot of people's lives with that. So, I mean, you mentioned recovery, we mentioned mental health. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It's something that really needs to be taken to the focal point, just continuing to stress the point of be kind, stay wonderful, and just be loved, man. It's a blessing all in all at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I totally agree on that. The fetish community in itself is one of my saving graces, I will say. I'm kinky personally. I know it's surprising. Um, but one of the first things, in that moment, one of my really low moments just got cheated on. Oh my God, I'm sitting and Bambi Wild, she was Miss Nude Universe at one point and things like that. She's a friend of mine. I used to work at her club in Illinois, and she was there, and I, cried in her lap, and then I went over to the dungeon at Exotica, and I got tied up and suspended for the first time. I was up for like an hour, and then at the dungeon, I told the rigger what was going on. I had made friends with, his wife the day before. I told them what is going on. I'm really just at a low point, and blah blah blah. And in order to keep me from, going out and making bad decisions, I basically spent the entire day in the dungeon, and I got handed around to whoever was working whatever station. They just kept me busy and kept that, and I had a bunch of aftercare, and everybody's handing me cookies and water, and I'm like, hey. And so, getting into the fetish community and then incorporating, when I got into the fetish community, I realized that, like, wrestling and fighting were fetishes. And so as soon as I discovered that, I'm like, oh, this is what I want to do, because I have this background. I enjoy fighting, I enjoy wrestling. And so I think this is really where I'm going to go forward with it, is like, this is something that definitely appeals to me. But, the fetish community has definitely kind of given me a space to, be myself and be healthy and be happy and not, go back to those really bad habits that I used to have.
Yeah, it's like Sly and the Family Stone, man. Thank you for letting me be myself again. And I think where you are right now and being true to yourself, I think is wonderful. And I mean, like you mentioned, and Tommy can equate to this because he's a fan. Like we talk about the Bay fights, what have you, and we talk about just
Mhm.
wrestling and everything being like fetishes. A lot of people don't even realize, like a lot of people like a good headlock, a little takedown, if you will. It's spicy in the fetish side of things. There's just something about body worship, if you will, or just something that really is just very enticing to one. And I really think it's great to see, like we talk about the uniqueness of people and their preferences and how we really open up the mind and the horizon, so to speak, with the fetish community. I think it's wonderful just to see for a lot of people to expand the horizons. And hey, you may have not been into it, but maybe once you give it a try, you like it. So there's something for everybody. Variety is key, but also at the end of the day, let the flag fly, if you will, not the freak flag, but just let your overall self go out there and explore, man. That's what it's about in all in life.
Oh,
Explore.
Michael, it's a total goddamn freak flag. I mean, and I didn't even have to
All right,
fly it. I
freak
knew
flag.
it
All
when
right,
I
you're
was like
flying it.
4 years goddamn
Yeah,
old.
Carolina. All right, brother.
It's
Your
not
freak
even
flag
freak
fly.
flag. It's just the way you're wired, dude. And hey, turns
Hey,
out, I'll tell you what. I mean, there's no secret about my age. I'm 24 years old. It's been a rough one. that when I was a youth growing up, all the things I dreamed that I would live in a world where all the stuff that I liked was not only accepted, but that there was a world where I had a lot of access to it. And this looked like literally something I was like, this needs to happen. I need to have this in my life. And I never would have thought in the early 80s that everything that I wanted to be an acceptable part of the world is now like I'm actually involved in a lot of these companies and things now. I'm like, I can't believe I even get to do a freaking drawing show with the people who are doing the content that I like. I mean, shit. I guess it doesn't get any better than this, does it?
no, I think to add, and we'll include Miss Skylar Calico over here. I think what's great about it too is as well when I got started doing interviewing stuff, and I've interviewed talents of all different facets of life. Like I'm a music and wrestling guy, but I also do like fetish modeling. I do also do like modeling as a whole, whether it be adult entertainment or what have you. People would either question, and people question a lot in life, like why? And I say, why not? Like you talk about the freak flag flying, why not let it fly? I think a lot of people don't in life just really don't just ask why too much, but actually at the end of the day, just go for it. I think perseverance and passion and persistence, if you will, dare I say perspicacity, goes a long way. And I include you in this, Skylar. I think that where you are with those letter P words that I just mentioned there, I think it does show within your work and also where your journey wants to go in life. And I think a lot of people can really obtain and really ascertain a lot of knowledge from it.
Absolutely. I really just, more than anything, I want, one part of me wants to be perceived as a hot girl. Not gonna lie, I like when people watch my content and my fetish content and everything else. The weird thing is, like, how many fetishes I've shot. And I've walked into it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. This is fine, it's not really my thing. And then, I'll shoot it 3, 4 times and I'll be like, fuck, is this starting to become my thing? Like, the list goes on. Like, I never thought, tickling is a great example. I am super duper duper ticklish. Right. So I started shooting tickling stuff. It was never really my personal. It was that it never really, got me hot and bothered or anything else. And then all of a sudden, I start doing the tickling thing, and I'm like, oh hey, hey. I think that a lot of it goes into like just the human interaction part of it and things like that. Wrestling per se isn't entirely my fetish, but I do love like rough housing with a partner. Like that back and forth struggle for, who's on top, blah, blah, blah. If I can put you in a headlock 3 times, I'm fucking happy. Um, so, that's really where I am. I'm a brat. I'm a little spitfire. You better be I'm not gonna say you have to be in really good shape to be with me, at least not fit like appearance wise, but you at least have to be able to like, pick me up or throw me around or whatever else, because I will tackle you.
What if you could just run really fast?
Right.
Well, that's no fun. I don't like a runner.
No.
Hey, this is time.
That's about the only skill I have.
Running.
That's the only like skill that Tommy has. Tommy's a runner. He's faster than the world track record of Michael Johnson is what he is. That's what you are, Mr. Tommy Bell. You are
Damn
fast.
Skippy.
Okay.
As he draws this incredible drawing.
Yes.
It's the skill you have. You can run.
Well, Skylar, I want to put this out there that even though our paths have just crossed, you've been so outstanding in your support of what I'm doing, especially not knowing me and going, well, who the hell is this guy? What the hell's going on now? Like, I understand that what I do is something a bit out of the norm and probably not what you get kind of hit up with each day. Like, hey, can I draw you? Would you want to be on this little drawing show? And da da da. And you've been so amazing with your support, and that helps fire up the creativity. I have a regular day job and I have a wife and family and everything else. And when you get to the point in the day when it's time to start doing some drawing, you need different things to get you fired up about doing it. And when I see that kind of support like you've been doing, that's all it is. Just a little bit here and there, and I'm ready to go and tackle this thing and make it like the best thing that I've done ever. Always trying to make something great, but the better it is, I think the better the spotlight is on everything that you do, not just for me, but for this entire industry. And your talent, is just, like I was telling Michael, I said, this is incredible. This is really fucking hot. And that's all I got.
You. Honestly, like one of my favorite things to, hear from fans or whoever, or to see, is like when people draw me or make art of me, or I inspire art or whatever else. I've had a couple of people, it started out with the TikTok videos. I was the TikTok girl that started out, and I'd say something, and I had an illustrator who would make a comic of it. And one day it was a rant about how much I love green beans, and so he drew me with green beans hanging out of my mouth going, green beans, fuck yeah, and things like that. The art has always been, when people take the time, anybody can send a message that says, you're really sexy, right? Anybody can send a message that says, hey, you're really hot. When an artist or somebody who has a passion that takes time and things like that says, I want to draw you, that shows, to me, I don't know, this is just, my weird brain of like, hey, you're investing time and energy to this. This isn't just like what you do in text. This is like somebody is actually, like, I made a little bit of a difference in this person's life, or they saw something in this or whatever else. And so for me, that's the ultimate honor, is when people do fan art of me or draw me or whatever else. No matter how good you think it is, how bad you think it is, whatever. Because I've had people go, well, I don't think it's that good. I'm sorry I didn't draw you better. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. It's just the fact that, I made an impression on somebody enough that they were like, wow, now I want to draw you. And I'm like, me?
Right. And Well, and I'll show you right here because you and Tyler Lynn had enough of an impact where when I pull this up just the right way, you could see what I've been doing, trying to fight the light here, but you can see what I'm doing with your hair. And just a few colors.
Man, you even got the side shave.
I tried and
I
I
was
tried
thinking
getting
about that. I was like, how is that gonna go?
but yeah, like this is the stuff that I'm talking about. And it does. It's a total investment because it takes a lot. It's weird, but like I'm a super energetic guy for being as old as dirt, which is really funny. But like it does take every drawing takes something out of me. There's an investment that's a part of Tommy Bell that is captured over about 12 days of creating a drawing from start to finish. And when it's done and I've signed it, sealed it, and that's that, I take a huge deep breath and about 2 days off of social media and everything just to recharge myself because I've poured, not everything just works automatically. I wish it did. I totally wish it did. Even the hair that I've been working on for the past, whatever, I don't know, 40 minutes or whatever. Like it's always it's a different kind of fight. It's the one I'm trained for. Where you're working on something, you're like, that's not working right. What do I do? Da 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 da. And you're fighting the colors back and forth with trying to duplicate what's there, So, but yeah, like Michael will tell you, I'm a huge female fighting fanatic, and that's where my freak flag flies at. But I also
I was supposed to have a real cat fight, but I don't really know what happened with. I mean, I'm open to the idea as long as there's no like face slapping of
right.
cat fights. And the only reason I don't do face slapping is I can't guarantee what will or will not happen after I get face slapped.
Ooh,
Well,
fair enough.
I'd like to see her hook up with Michael. I'd like to see her hook up with Gia Love down there in Florida.
Oh my goodness.
Our
Yes.
buddy Gia Love.
Gia Love, who does a lot of
Amazing.
good cat fighting videos. Yes.
Mhm.
She is a great friend.
The only thing about Gia is she's got some size on me. I've worked a couple of events with Gia. We walked together in the Dunedin Wearable Arts Festival, Wearable Arts Show for a designer called Artemis and Aphrodite. We were both there, and that's my only thing, kind of where I've struggled with the cat fighting is I want to fight somebody of a similar size, with similar skills.
Michael and I will research and think this over.
I've had a couple of people reach out to different people. I think her name's Nadia White.
Oh, Nadia.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's one that I have my eye on because we are very, very similarly sized, and that's my main thing is like, I've worked with Baefights and a couple of girls that they're just so much taller than me, or they weigh more than me, or whatever else, that I'm like, hey, I would pick you up. But and I'm not saying that I can't weight wise, but it's just a thing of mass where I can't balance and pick you up over my head because you are a lot longer than I am. And it's kind of like when you have a really awkward table that you're like, this is not heavy enough that it should be a two-man job, but it's really just awkward to pick up. Like I've encountered that like a time or three where I'm like, I'm trying to do this. Oh, there's a lot more of you than I am wingspan. So that's kind of why I wanted to stick to somebody in my size class is more just so that way it's not an absolute. You get into a little bit of a like disadvantage
right.
when you have a much larger and a much smaller.
Well, and I actually prefer cat fights that are the most evenly matched. And people who know me know this already. The more evenly matched, the better it is. Michael and I have talked about it. I've talked about it with different people. So I'm going to rack my brain and get back to you on that. That's for sure.
All right. Yeah, I have no problem shooting like regular like wrestling videos with people who are bigger than me. But when it comes to an actual competitive cat fight, because a lot of times there is money on the line, like, okay,
Right.
so we both get paid X amount, and then the winner gets paid, an X extra amount.
Right.
So at that point, I'm like, all right, well, I want the biggest fighting chance because I am also an extremely competitive person. Like I said, when I came into Baefights, I was like, I'm gonna dominate, I'm gonna win, and then they're like, yeah, you're not gonna win this one, and I was like, are you serious? No.
Well, that's
What?
what made that intro to this clip so incredible. I mean, it was just there was so much energy and again, I can't go on enough about that clip. But yeah, that's why that initial interview to me was like so worth it. I wish they would have interviewed Tyler Lynn at the same time or whatever, and that would have been kind of neat. Because again, what that does to me is it mentally balances out that evenness,
Yeah.
between the two. But I really can't say anything bad
Well,
about.
the premise of it was just that, like, I caught her off guard.
Right.
If I remember correctly, was just like all of a sudden I was coming in. There was another video that I did with, oh God, what was her name? I've only worked with her once. Another video I did with another girl with a pipe wrench. That basically I came in and I was like, man, I've lost, three fights at this point or whatever. I need to really prove myself, so I'm gonna even it out, and you know,
Mhm.
um, that was a touching unaware. So people really just like when I go all out, apparently, and just catch these bitches, completely blindside them and just knock them into pools, and hit them with pipe wrenches and everything else, which I'm cool with. I don't fight fair. I never have.
That's right there. It's the epitome of buck wild, but at the same time, it's that buck wildness, if you will, that goes into it. And I think when you talk about people coming off guard, I mean, you were talking about the size differential. I mean, and I'll make a Rhea Ripley reference here, Skylar. It's like when Rhea Ripley was wrestling Ivy Nile for the Raw Women's Championship a few weeks ago on Raw. And mind you, Ivy Nile is a short girl, but she's a power lifter and she's strength. She's a little cutie beauty. But at the same time, like I like that stuff of just the fact that there's something that's really cool just about the fact of just the size differences and the size statures. But I think what you're talking about here is just fighting and just coming out with pipe wrenches and everything just in general. It's the proverbial foreign object, if you will. So I mean, like you talk about liking the heels. I mean, that's some heel-esque right there, man. So I gotta say it fits right into the whole story of what you're about and just the overall vibe.
I could happily play a heel for the rest of my life. Like I hate being a hero. I want to be the villain. I have always wanted to be the villain, but I want to be that likable villain. Like we were talking about Rhea, it does it fantastically. Where you're like, man, I love it. That is kind of the character that I always want to have, that I really enjoy playing, is that like rusty, nasty bitch, like she'll, you don't know what she's going to come up with. She's here to win, come hell or high water, however she needs to win, but she's going to win. She played dirty. Even in my real life, actual like fights. I mentioned I was a dancer, and I still dance occasionally and things like that. Been in quite a few locker room fights. I
Ooh.
broke a girl's tailbone one time. Another, I bounced heads off lockers, whatever else. It's all about like using your surroundings and not fighting fair at that point, because like somebody's actually trying to hurt you. But I am the kind of person that, like, I'll knock you on your ass and then stick my hand out to you and go, all right, you ready to act right? Let's talk about this like adults. I'm gonna, like, you need to incapacitate the assailant, and then hey, okay, that was not okay, and now we need to talk about this like adults.
Well,
So
no,
Michael, we got a firecracker.
I will say this. It's kind of like when you're in high school, and I've seen a lot of these, when you're just walking down the hall, and all of a sudden two girls are coming out the bathroom cat fighting, and then like I've seen it like what she's mentioned, because there's a lot of girls that I went to high school with that were like that. That were like buck wild, they would get into a fight, but they'd also pick them up so you can act right. It's a disciplinary action, but also at the same time, sometimes beating is fundamental. So I mean, sometimes you got to go buck wild, sometimes you got to be that spitfire, sometimes you got to show that edge, if you will, about what you are and what you're about. And I mean, there's a popular saying out right now, fuck around and find out. But at the same time, sometimes it's necessary. I mean, I don't advocate it a lot, but sometimes it's necessary. And I mean, hey, it is what it is, as they say. Sometimes it bees like that, to quote Pink in her song "There You Go." You know, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can look at it, but yes, I totally completely understand where you're coming
I'm
from.
a big like do no harm but take no shit. So I've never started an actual fight. I've
Right.
never started an actual fight. These are all girls who, were like drunk or angry or they were, pissed off about something else. I was the nearest object, I guess, and that's where they um but they just get these, I'm gonna attack you, and I'm like, you really shouldn't do that. Like, I would really highly advise against that. And I have told several people that, and then they do it anyways. And I'm like, all right. And that's an equivalent of go around and find out. I'm never going to start a fight. I'm never going to deliberately put my hands on somebody in order to start something. But fuck around and find out.
So you're pretty
Like,
much
Well,
yeah. So you're pretty much like Texas Ranger and Talladega Nights. You come at him like a spider monkey, is what you're saying, kind of. So
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
fair.
well, Skylar and Michael, as we get ready to wrap up season 1 of Sketchy and Funny, I'm gonna lay this out there for this discussion. You guys are both gonna be shocked by this, and maybe this explains why I am the way I am and I gravitate towards what I do. I never got to see a high school cat fight in real life. Like, that did not happen. Never, not once. And I literally did not miss school because of that. I'm like, nope, it was always 2 doors down or somewhere else or whatever. And I never, ever was witness. And maybe that's why I am the way I am.
You know what? Me neither. It wasn't until I was an adult that people started trying to fight. Like, when I was in high school, it didn't happen. It didn't.
Right.
Like, I went to a very small northern Massachusetts school, and it did not happen. Like, we'd hear about it, like, oh, did you hear 3 years ago this kid got into a fight? And they're like, yeah, they suspended him for 2 weeks. And so my school just came down like so hard on everybody that we were all scared to fight. We're like, yeah, well, I'll take this up with you on Facebook.
Yeah.
So to add to her with the over here Massachusetts school over here, I'm going to say so. I grew up on the Northeast, Long Island, New York, East Islip High School. So for those who are unaware of East Islip High School, that's the same high school that Ralph Macchio attended and people like Boomer Esiason attended back in the day and graduated from. East Islip High School. When you're on Long Island, folks, I mean, it's just there's fights. They don't give a f, if you know what I'm saying. We don't give a fuck, so to speak. Myself not included in that, but I grew up with a lot of kids that just like to fight, like to just scrap, if you will. So I guess I got used to it, and also being a New Yorker. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that where you try to avoid it. But I remember it clear as day. The girl, I was coming out of lunch, girls coming out of the friggin' bathroom, grabbing some her, if you will, right there, right there. There was some her, some hands, if you will. So I mean, I think that was the only one time I think I ever saw it, but stuff like that happened. You know, all of a sudden you just see fists are flying, hair are flowing, just that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it in strip clubs more.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen it in strip clubs more. That's you want to see a really good, genuine cat fight.
sure.
Um,
Yeah.
Strip clubs. There's a clinic called Stripper Locker Room. They have some like those are real fights. Those are legitimate and they're great. And yeah, that's the best place to find actual like real life cat fight. Not that I'm saying that anyone should sneak into a stripper's locker room, but like please don't. You will get arrested so quickly. Probably your ass beat. But if you're
Right.
into that, still don't do it. But yeah, no, strip club locker rooms are one of those like. But some clubs I've seen fights pop off once a week, if not more. Other clubs, depending
Wow.
on how good the management is, you'll never see it. Like they'll fire girls as soon as there's like even a little tip or anything. They're like, all right, y'all need to like take a couple weeks to months to years off. From here, you need to go somewhere else because we're not going to tolerate that. But yeah, I've worked at some clubs that you're every week you hear some, like yeah, it's like a legitimate cat fight, and you're like, oh damn, well she's missing a chunk of her hair.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Damn.
Yeah,
All
those would be
right.
delicious.
Well, Skylar, I think I've just reached about a point here where if I add any more color to your hair, I'm actually going to add more color to your hair than what you've got. But kind of can see
I mean, that's it.
how we're doing that. Pencil's getting tiny. Look at that. Getting down there. But so that's where we're going to leave this show and season 1. And I will hop off of the art table and flip the camera around to say a proper goodbye. But this is where we're at with the drawing. And that, not too bad. I think this one is going to turn out amazing, especially once I get all the other details and stuff done. This is a huge tribute to the hard work that you and Tyler Lynn did. I'm hoping for more. This is going to be an amazing piece when it's finished. I can't wait to show it to you. And I just want to thank you again from me to you. Thank you so much for all your support. It's insanely cool. And you know what? I want to open up the floor to you, Michael. You're going to be impressed. I'm going to try to do this for you, buddy.
Okay.
This is usually Michael's part. Here we go, Michael. Tell me how I do.
Okay.
All right, Skylar. I'm going to open up the floor to you to give all of the people who are watching this show on whatever platform it may be, let them know how we can reach you on social media, follow you, like you, and all that great stuff.
Absolutely. So all of my socials are under Skylar Calico, SkylarCalico. There's quite a few now. I do have subscription sites and all of those things as well. But in general, Twitter is a great way to get a hold of me. Instagram, follow me on TikTok, OnlyFans, Fansly, Loyal Fans. I think I have a couple others, but I can't remember. They're all on a list. But yeah, just anything that's Skylar Calico is me. Anything that is like Skylar Calico _ is not me. Let me put that out there because like every once in a while they'll pop up. People will be like, "Is this you?" And I'm like, "No, no, no." But
44765.
Yeah.
Users at the end. Yep.
Yeah. But thank you so much again for drawing me and having me on here. You know, I love doing podcasts. I love doing, little interviews and just chatting with people and really letting, fans see my personality outside of just like, oh, here's a sexy clip that you can buy. Like, no, like actually get to know me and, that way you can be like, hey, I like her and I want to support her. And so just, hi, I'm another alternative hot girl. So again, thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. And that's a huge part of what this drawing show is all about, is showcasing all of your talents, everything that you do. It's not just about the drawing. It's about you.
Thank you.
Guys, LFCfights.com for all your lingerie fighting championships needs, man. You can check out Tommy Bell Art, Sketchy, and Funny on there. My show, LFC Podcast, Beauty, Strength, and Dominance. Like Skylar mentioned, follow her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tickety-Tock, with the heart TikTok, you don't stop, and all those link trees, if you will, baby. You can check out some of her amazing photos like Tommy, like our boy DC Don Cross, and his calendar is a beautiful set she did for Don Cross Photography. Check her out. Check her out on Baefights. Check her out on so many different avenues of entertainment, because you will not be disappointed. And you can check out Tommy Bell Art on the Spotify, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, all your social media saturation, if you will, all your social media needs. Get it! Because if you don't, and then you don't got it. Well, yeah. So check us all out on all forms of social media. And Skylar, as I say with my show, Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And I include you in those sentiments. And Tommy Bell, wrap it up like a tip cup. Say what? Let them know.
Okay, well, it's really, really hard to follow that with anything that's good, other than by saying that my wife showed me on TikTok that not only by my astrological sign do I have 99 people crushing on me, makes me pretty goddamn cool, but apparently my job, you guys, check this out. According to TikTok, so this is no bullshit. My job shouldn't be an artist. I should be a rapper.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that.
I buy that album. I buy that. I buy that album.
I would.
You'd be getting ripped off.
Slim Tommy.
MC Bell in the house, man. Oh.
Well, I have a whole name for my rap album, but we'll get into that at a later date. This has been
I expect to hear it, and I expect to get royalties.
She wants the royalties. Yeah, man.
Well, this has been one hell of a ride. Season 1, Sketchy and Funny, comes to a close. Gang, thank everybody for watching. I want to thank each and every one of my special guests. There's been so many, but this episode has been outstanding. Thank you, Skylar Calico, for making this an amazing episode. Your support is outstanding, and this drawing is coming along, and it's going to kick ass. Michael, thank you for being my wingman. Thank you for being my editor, and thank you for bringing some structure to this show, as the first 3 or 4 episodes are certain to tank.
You're welcome, my dude, and I'm happy to be along the ride with you. And Skylar, once more, thank you so much, and we'll see y'all for season 2, man.
All right. Well, we'll see you then. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I gave you the Tommy Bell dozen. That's 11 episodes for season 1, and we will see you again for season 2. Take care, everybody.
It's just a laid
Thank
back
you for
vibe,
listening
baby.
to another edition of Tommy Bell Art Sketchy and Funny. Follow Tommy Bell on all forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Tommy Bell Art. Tommy Bell Art Sketchy and Funny is now on Spotify and on the VIP section of the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships website. Follow our guest Skylar Calico on all forms of social media at Skylar Calico. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in season 2.
It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It ain't nothing but a laid back vibe. Straight up. Straight up. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It ain't nothing but a laid back vibe. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It ain't nothing but a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It's just a laid back vibe, baby. Straight up. It ain't nothing but a laid back vibe.